Dear students, welcome everybody to this our 7th lesson about estimating risk and the importance of scenario analysis. So this is another lesson about cooperation and negotiation in Mediterranean with a specific focus about Italian and Tunisian case study. In this lesson, after having analyzed all the elements related to the negotiations and the instrument to negotiate with a cooperative approach, we will focus on the risks and on the opportunities that you need to evaluate during your cooperation and negotiation. And specifically, we will analyze also the elements related to the risks and opportunities, obviously inside the Mediterranean area. For this reason, it's important to analyze which are the risks and the opportunities that will be important in 2020 in the Mediterranean region. And we can analyze some elements and some topics related, for example, to the evolution of armed conflicts and widespread insecurity in the vast area of the region. So analyzing obviously not only the situation in Tunisia, but also the situation in the other countries that are inside the same region. Secondly, the economic situation and obviously related to this fact to geoeconomic and geosecurity, so generally geopolitical factors are very, very important in the analysis of the risk. Migration policies and refugees, especially related to international level, are very, very important in order to analyze and to understand which are the risks in the future, so thinking to 2020 for the Mediterranean. And also the democratic factor and the climate change are other factors that definitely can change the situation and the equilibrium in the region. So, in this sense, other factors that could have a decisive impact on the situation could be the migration or the growth, demographic, and the other consequences of the climate change in the sub-Saharan Africa and in the MENA region. We need to analyze them in order to have a good picture of what could happen in 2020. For example, we can say and we can think that in 6 countries of the Sahel, where the birth rate is 8% children per woman, the population was at least about 89 million in 2015. But it should reach 240 million in 2050 and 540 million in 2100. For example, we can think that the Niger alone, with one current population of 15 million, should have, according to the projection, over 200 million people to end of this century. So in this sense, all these factors and all these elements related to the demographic growth could be an important risk for the equilibrium of the region. But could be also an opportunity if we think about to possible cooperative and other policies that could find the development, also thanks to the economic growth and to the population growth. So starting from now, we have some slides related to the opportunity for Italian export in Tunisia, but generally for the opportunity for Italy in Tunisia from a political, economic and social point of view. In this slide specifically, we can see the export opportunity index and the investment opportunity index. It's important to notice that the Tunisia market is the 31st market for Italian export. So in this sense, it's very, very important the relationship between the two countries inside the Mediterranean. At the same time, it's important to notice that Tunisia is the 4th target market for Italian exports to Middle East and North Africa. So in this sense, we can remember how much is important for Italy to have not only relationship, but also to have a specific politics of development, of economic development with this country, so with Tunisia and obviously with the other countries in the same region. In this slide, we have another important graph about the Italian export in Tunisia, and what is important to notice is that the numbers of export are definitely, the percentage of export is definitely growing during the last years, starting from the 2016 till a provisional export for 2021. It is important also to notice that Italy is not only the only country that has this type of relationship with Tunisia, but we can see also France, Germany and Spain that are very interrelated and interlinked with Tunisia and with also the other countries of the Mediterranean region. So in this slide you can see also all the opportunities that Italy has in Tunisia, referring specifically to the economic sectors. We spoke already about all these sectors during our first and second lesson, and in this slide you can see all these aspects. Specifically, as you can remember, the most important economic sector for the relationship between Italy and Tunisia are the chemical sector, the food processing, agriculture, mechanical engineering, automotive, textile and clothing. Specifically, as you can remember, the most important one is agriculture, followed by the automotive and textile and clothing. You can find some more information on the Minister of Foreign Affairs in Italy, so from the Italian Minister of Foreign Affairs website. And you can see all the elements related to the percentage related for all these sectors and all these economic sector for the opportunities and investment in Tunisia. In this slide, we can see the risk indexes for Tunisia. So we need also to evaluate not only the opportunities but also the risks in order to analyze how much is important to have or not to have a relationship with a specific country. So our case study is about Italy and Tunisia, so let's see which are the risk indexes for Tunisia in these relationships. In this slide, and I would like to say that all these slides, all these percentage are realized by such groups, so if you like, you can find it on its website. We can analyze the average political risk and the average credit risk, so from a political and social point of view, and from the other side, from the economic point of view. As you can see, we can say that as for the average political risk, we have in Tunisia 54% that is related to the expropriation and breach of contract risk, to the war and civil disturbance risk, and to the transfer and convertibility risk. So it is an average of all these factors. For the credit risk, we need to analyze the sovereign credit risk, the bank credit, and the corporate credit risks. We have as average the 79% in Tunisia. So in order to think to a relationship between two states, specifically this time about Italy and Tunisia, the groups, the companies, or states itself need to analyze all these risks before to establish a relationship with the other country. So analyzing again, let's repeat about it, the political, social and economic risks. At the same time, with this slide, we can analyze the risk indexes for Italy. So I would like to present to you not only the risks and the opportunities for Tunisia, but also from the other side, so analyzing the situation in Italy. This time, we see that the average political risk in Italy is about 20%. Again, the factors and the indexes are related to the same risk, so the expropriation and breach of contract, war and civil disturbance, and transfer and convertibility risks. From the other side, the average credit risk is related to a 46%. So in Italy is different, obviously, the situation, even if all these factors are definitely relevant. So when you start to analyze the risks and the opportunities in the relationships between two or more states, you need to analyze and you need to use the so-called risk management. In this sense, risk management is a set of processes through which a company, or I can say also state or an enterprise, etc., identifies, analyzes, quantifies, eliminates and monitors the risk associated with a given production process. Obviously, it could be applied, as you can remember, and as we have said, to not only to the economic risk, but also to political and social risk. In this sense, in the risk management, you need to minimize losses and maximize the effectiveness and efficiency of production processes. So in this sense, it is important to understand if it is important to invest or not in a specific country, if it is important to have a relationship, if this state or this situation is safe or not. In the construction of the risk management, it is important to analyze four main steps. First of all, to define the context and to identify the risks. So using also all the practices that you have used for the negotiation, for example, mind mapping, brainstorming, or star busting, you can use the same hierarchy, try to prioritize all the elements that are related to opportunity and risks in order to better understand the situation in a specific country. In this way, you can analyze the risk, and secondly, also evaluate the risk. After having do all these steps, you need to control and to improve your analysis, your risk analysis. So in this phase is divided into the step dedicated to the preparation and approval of the risk action plan, and the step of execution, control, and modification of the plan. Obviously, in this phase, again, you can improve all the elements that you have analyzed and considered during the main step before. Knowledge of the types of errors in risk management is essential to develop risk analysis and risk mitigation actions. In the literature, there are several theories about the risk management. However, the most important one is related to the so-called theory of errors by James Reason. Analyzing the genesis of an accident and of a potential risk that has become reality, but also taking into account all the events, errors, and deficits that generated it, we realize that most of the causes are related to maintenance problem or incorrect communication and incorrect managerial decision, or again inefficient communication system. Accidents, however, are rarely caused by a single mistake or to a human or a technological mistake, but more often they are the result of a chain of mistakes and events. From this consideration, there is a useful model to identify the errors in a complex social technical system. This model identifies from one side latent errors and from the other side active errors and defenses. The so-called latent errors are errors related to the technologies, to the management phase, to the lack of leadership. These factors can create work environments that facilitate mistakes or violation. Eliminating as many latent errors as possible reduces the chance of an accident occurring. From the other side, the so-called active errors are caused by the factors triggering the accident and are associated with one or more people and are therefore easily identifiable. These are errors that can be repeated after some time by different people, so it is important to evaluate these errors in order to isolate them and not to repeat them. Finally, defenses are barriers that an organization can implement in order to prevent the occurrence of accidents. This defense system can consist of alarms, technological tools, or procedures and protocols. So with this last concept, we can end all these elements related to the analysis risk, and we can end also our lesson. Please do not forget to do all the questionnaire in order to pass to the other lesson, and to analyze also the slides, papers and research materials that you can find on the platform. So thank you for your attention, and see you next time.